a very high quality blue chip portfolio, well managed equity portfolio, which should be amongst the best performing portfolio in India. Not only meaning you compare it with we want to make it a portfolio, and it's already showing in the short term performance of the last 4 5 months. Is that we want to compete with the best of the mutual funds in India and beat the best of the funds in India. You'll appreciate, and I'm sure probably I would have connected with a lot of you guys in the past, that I've been associated with India's mutual fund industry for the last 25 years, having built Axis Mutual Fund from scratch, from zero, being the founder of it. And today at Alpha Portfolios, the team that we have is some of the best brains that exist in the mutual fund industry. So this platform gives us the opportunity to bring you the best of the portfolio management capabilities in partnership with Fintso, and I'm sure we'll do wonders with this. Yeah. So with this, I'll begin. I'll share with you the philosophy and the strategy of this portfolio, and share some highlights of the portfolio in terms of its key holdings and the performance, and then we can open the floor for question. So the first and foremost thing is, friends, I think the idea is as a philosophy, as investors, we are growth biased investors. We always wanting to invest into growth companies, or chasing or investing into growth and high growth companies, because the idea is very simple. When we buy equity shares in any company, we essentially become owners of that company. We become part owners, small owners, minority owners of that business. And as a result, being an owner of the business, our returns generally are linear or in proportion to the underlying growth in the business, the revenue growth and profit growth in the business. So if we are owning growth business, or business which can deliver high growth, then obviously our returns can also be reasonably high, because all of us want to make healthy returns, high returns from our investment into equities. It is very important that to do so, we need to be invested into growth business, or high growth business as we call. So as investors, we always looking to an alpha leadership portfolio is looking to invest into growth companies which are leaders in their and growth companies which are leaders in their respective business and industry. So that's the first and foremost in terms of our investment philosophy, that as investors, we always chasing growth and high growth, because your returns are directly proportional. जितना underlying company का profit growth होगा, उतने ही हमारे returns आएंगे, right? और हम सबको अच्छे returns चाहिए, high returns चाहिए. So then we have to invest into growth and high growth companies. So that's the DNA of this portfolio. Yeah, next slide, please. So we discussed about growth. While growth is important, friends, what is also equally important is the quality of the growth. You know, growth can be both good quality and bad quality. As an investor, we need to learn to distinguish between the two, because we invest into a bad quality company, then, or a bad quality business, effectively means we become a partner in a bad quality business, or we become owner of a bad business. Then that bad business will not survive for a long period of time. Someday the business will fail, right? We've seen so many companies every few years, when the economy goes through a downturn or there's a sell-off in the stock market, we often read that so many companies have failed, and many a times a lot of large companies also fail, right? And if we are owner of one such company or a business which fails, then we will also share the losses of that failure of that business, and as a result we'll end up losing money as shareholder. Now, obviously, all of us, we don't want to lose money. Our capital is very precious, which is why it's very important that we invest in successful business. When I say successful business, it means good business, good quality business. So while growth is important, what is equally important is the quality of the underlying business, which is why we say we want to invest into quality growth businesses. We don't want to invest into bad quality growth businesses or poor quality growth business, because if it is a bad quality business, even if it grows, that growth will not sustain. वो ज्यादा समय तक चलेगी नहीं growth. कभी ना कभी जाके वो business fail हो जाएगा. हमने every few years में हम देखते हैं बहुत सारी companies fail हो जाती है. For example, few years back we had seen there was a company in housing finance called Diwan Housing Finance which failed. Right? There was a company, a lot of telecom companies failed. Let's say Reliance Telecom or that failed. Or steel sector में there was a large company called SR Steel which failed. We saw a few years back. सो कंपनीज, अगर बिजनेस अच्छा नहीं है, अच्छी क्वालिटी का नहीं है, तो वो फेल हो जाएगा. और ऐसी फेल्ड कंपनी का ओनर या पार्टनर हमें नहीं बनना है, which is why it's very important we focus on quality growth of the business. So we invest in good quality growth businesses, and which is what exactly Alpha Leadership Portfolio will do. As the name suggests, it will invest into growth businesses, but companies which are leaders and which are good quality business. Next slide, please. One common question which is that is asked is, if I ask you all or anyone for that matter as to what kind of returns you want from your investment into stock markets, the general answer is everyone says that I want to make high returns. High returns किसी नहीं चाहिए, सबको चाहिए, मुझे भी चाहिए, मुझे तो highest returns चाहिए, right? But because we want our money to work as hard as we work in our professional life, right? And then the next question is, what do you do to generate highest returns? So the general common answer is that to generate highest returns, we have to take high risk. Unless and until we take high risk, we will not generate high returns. But always remember, friends, that if you take the highest risk in stock markets, you will never generate high returns. What you will generate is low returns. Because what happens is stock markets एक cycle के through जाते हैं. All of us understand stock market is cyclical. 2-3 साल 4 साल 5 साल बुल मार्केट चलता है, उसके बाद मार्केट्स में करेक्शन आता है या फॉल हो जाता है मार्केट फॉर सम रीजन और अदर. वो किसी भी कारण से हो सकता है. इट कैन हैपन फॉर एनी रीजन. इट कैन बी लोकल और इंडिया स्पेसिफिक, और इट कुड बी अ ग्लोबल रीजन और अ ग्लोबल क्राइसिस. One such reason 2 years back was the outbreak of the COVID pandemic, where equity markets had crashed all over the world, including in India as well, right? And if you take highest risk, then whenever the stock market falls, people who take the highest risk will also have the highest losses. Okay, and as a result, they'll end up losing all the returns they have made in the previous 2, 3, 4, 5 years by virtue of having highest losses. So which is why we say in stock market, experience tells us and data tells us that if you take high risk, you generate not high returns but low returns, because you end up having high losses. So the path to generating high returns or healthy returns, as we call in stock market, is by not taking high risk but by taking moderate risk. Equity is risk, but we have to take reasonable amount of risk, so that if and when market falls, our stocks should fall less. And as soon as markets recover, if we are investing into good quality stocks, which is what I mentioned earlier, then our portfolio will recover very quickly or very fast, which effectively means we'll lose less amount of money and will recover also very fast whenever the market recovers after the fall or the crisis. So the path to generating high returns is not through high risk, but through moderate risk and high quality portfolio, and which is what exactly this Alpha Leadership Portfolio is all about, friends. Yeah, next slide, please. As I said, which also means we have to take not high risk but moderate risk, and which effectively means we have to make sure that our portfolio is high quality. We discussed that, I touched upon it. We we should not invest into poor quality business. We should make sure that we're investing into companies at the right price. If you buy a good company or a good stock, but we buy at a wrong price, then also we can lose money. So we should avoid that. And we should not invest into illiquid stocks, because then we will not be able to sell it in case of markets are falling or when the volumes are low. So we should stay invest into liquid stocks, so that as and when we want to sell it for some reason or other, we should be able to do that. Next slide, please. I can share with you 1 or 2 examples of companies that this portfolio is will be investing into, or the kind of companies it will be invested into. And these are some of the companies which we have invested, or I have invested in my funds, some of the other funds. So for example, there's this company called InfoEdge. I'm sure a lot of you or most of you are familiar with this, or it runs a very famous, it's a company which runs handful of internet business. It's into internet business. Their flagship business is a job portal called Naukri.com. Then they run other businesses, including property business, which is 19acres.com. They run a matrimonial business, which is jeevansathi.com. And then they also the principal shareholders and promoters of companies like Zomato and Policy Bazaar. So they run a host of internet businesses. Now, this is a classic case of a company. When we say Alpha Leadership Portfolio, idea is this portfolio invest only in companies which are leaders in their respective business. So this is a company which is leader into all the businesses that it is into. In job portal, Naukri is a leader. In food tech, Zomato is a leader. In real estate business, 99 acres is a leader. So it's a company where it has leadership in on its all its business. It's a company, very high quality company, because it has delivered very strong growth over the last 20 years, 15 years that this company has been around, and makes significant amount of profits. The profits have been growing and generating significant amount of cash. Yeah, so this is exactly what we mean by good quality company and growth company, and companies which are business leaders, which is what this leadership portfolio is all about. Last 10 years, this stock has given a return of 44% every year. Now, 44% return every year, meaning, friends, the idea is very simple. In 1 year, 10 months में आपका पैसा डबल हो जाता है. एंड अगर आपका पैसा 1 year 10 months में डबल हो रहा है और वो 10 साल तक आप कंटिन्यूस करोगे, तो आई एम नॉट इवन टॉकिंग गिविंग यू द नंबर, यू कैन कैलकुलेट योरसेल्फ what kind of multiplier that is in terms of returns that this company has generated over the last 10 years for its shareholders. Yeah, so this is what we mean or we want to achieve by investing into companies in the alpha leadership portfolio, which can deliver strong growth, consistent growth, and which are leaders and which are very good quality companies. And if all of these parameters are met, then companies can deliver these kind of returns. Just to give you a perspective, 44% return every year, as just compare it about thinking about हमारा बैंक एफडी में रिटर्न आता है 7%, 8%, एंड ऑन अगर उसके बदले में कोई कंपनी आपको 44% रिटर्न दे रही है एवरी ईयर, तो आप इमेजिन कर सकते हो कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ रिटर्न्स वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, राइट? नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज. This is another company, for example, which is Tata Consumer Products. This is a company in which we had invested into October 18 now. Again, you can see Tata Consumer is a company which is leader into tea business. They are the leading tea company in India. I'm sure all of us are aware of Tata Tea and the various brands they have under Tata Tea. They also a leader under the salt business. All of us know Tata Salt. And plus, they are getting into some other businesses also, including foods. Now, so this is a company which is leader into the businesses it is there. It is a very good quality company from the house of Tatas. It's a company which has very strong profit growth every year. They keep growing their profits at 15-20% or higher, and generates huge amount of cash flows, pays good healthy dividend to shareholders. It's a company which also is a 50% owner of all the Starbucks coffee chain that we see in India. Is owned by, they have a 50-50 JV with Starbucks. So they own 50% in Starbucks, the so famous and eponymous coffee brand. So we think this company has a very bright future. In the last 3 years that we've invested into this company's stock price has gone 3 times, which effectively means that it has given 63% return every year for the last 3 years. Now, again, it fits all our criteria of being a good quality business, growth business, and a company which is leader, which is what exactly the idea of sharing these examples with you is, friends, that this is what alpha leadership portfolio is all about, and what it can do to your investment portfolio. And if we do this, then the kind of returns that we can expect, all of us, can be very strong or very healthy. And we are generating all these returns while investing into good quality business. We are not investing into bad quality business. We are not doing any speculation, right? We are investing into very rock solid, good quality businesses. Next slide, please. So to summarize what alpha leadership portfolio is all about, alpha leadership portfolio is all about investing into companies which can have multi-year growth compounding. So we are focused on growth. That is what I said on the first slide. And we are investing into companies which can deliver strong growth for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Companies, jinke samne there is opportunity to keep growing their business at that high rate of 20-30% for the next 10 years, 20 years. That is the kind of companies we want to invest into. And if we can invest into these kind of companies, then just imagine as shareholders, we becoming owners of that kind of a business. All of us want to own businesses which can keep growing, because if business can keep growing at 20-30%, then we can also expect similar returns because we are the owner of that business by virtue of owning those stocks in a portfolio, right? So this is what exactly alpha leadership portfolio is all about: investing into companies with multi-year growth visibility, multi-year growth compounding. Next slide, please. As I said, while doing all of this, we want to be absolutely focused on quality and growth. Growth both from a medium-term perspective. When I say medium-term, I'm saying 1 to 3 years, and growth from a longer-term perspective, multi-year growth compounding that we discussed. How do we do that? We do that by investing into companies which are leaders, which are very high quality, and which generate very strong cash flows and ROCs. And then all we do after we have done all of that is we just buy these companies and sit tight on them for the next 2 to 3 years. That's it. And we keep reevaluating them every 3 months, whether they are delivering as per our expectations or not. At the same time, to make sure that we achieve adequate balance in the portfolio, we might also have some we might what happens is some companies do well in a 2 to 3 year cycle, so we might invest into some cyclical business also, where companies might be beneficiary of that cycle from a 3 year perspective, while as underlying business is cyclical, so long term growth might not be strong. But if we see a strong investment case or a business recovery there, we might invest into them as well, so as to make sure that we make the maximum returns in a portfolio. But at the same time, we will not compromise on quality. So quality and growth are the two, quality, growth, and leadership. These are the three pillars of alpha leadership portfolio. Next slide, please. So yes, exactly. This is what I'm saying. It's a portfolio of high quality growth companies which are leaders. It's a focused portfolio of about 20 odd stocks that we want to have with an investment horizon of 3 years. We're investing into very high quality business with very strong credibility and very strong competitive edge, जो हम कहते हैं ना business में, where it's very difficult to compete with those businesses and very difficult to build those businesses. Next slide, please. This is the current sectoral allocation of the portfolio. So about 30% of it's as you can see, it's a very well diversified portfolio across multiple sectors. So it's not a portfolio which is concentrated in one or two sectors. It's a portfolio which is diversified across multiple sectors. You can see that 30% of the portfolio is into banks and financials, and another 15% of portfolio is into IT consulting and software. There's another 10% or there 9% of the portfolio which is into automobiles, another 9% into capital goods. So it's a portfolio which is a complete play on Indian economy, because we are investing into leader companies, quality companies across all the sectors of the Indian economy. So it's a very well diversified portfolio. Next slide, please. And the idea, as I said, is to strike a right balance between growth, returns, and risk. We don't want to take high risk, right? So what we want to do is we want to generate superior risk adjusted returns. We want to take moderate risk and generate high returns. And if we do that, then what we call in investing parlance, we want to generate superior risk adjusted returns from this portfolio. Next slide, please. This is a standard disclaimer. I can quickly show you the fact sheet of the portfolio, which will give you some insights into the holdings of the portfolio and the performance of the portfolio. So can we quickly, here is the fact sheet. We discussed all the fund objective and the fund strategy, so we can skip this, move on. This is discussed. Can we show the so you can see here, friend, we discussed the sectoral allocation. These are top holdings, 5 holdings of the fund, for example, for your perspective, which is visible to you on the right hand side of this table. So the top holding in the portfolio is a company called Aditya Birla Fashion. It's the largest apparel retailer in India. They own brands like, Pantaloon, Van Heusen, Allen Solly. They're the largest player in apparel retailing in India. And we think that we are very positive on that company, because we think that now as economy unlocks, we haven't, and life normalizes. For the last 2 years, all of us have been living in a constrained lifestyle. Events have not been happening. Most of us have been working from home. Events like wedding, corporate events, and parties are not happening, and all of that happened. And as a result, we have not spent enough on apparel. As life normalizes, all of us will go back to our normal lifestyles. There will be a big surge in apparel spending in India, and more importantly, as the economy grows, then people spend more and more on buying clothes and apparel. So we think apparel retailing, fashion retailing is a very big opportunity in India, because our economy grows, everyone wants to buy good clothes and good brands, and they own some of the leading brands in India. And as I said, they're the largest apparel retailing company in India. So this is a classical example of a company which is good quality, which is a leader, which is a high growth company, and it is a top holding in this fund. And likewise, there are other companies, as you can see. This fund has done reasonably well in the last, this fund was conceptualized or launched on 18th October 21. So it's already been about, I think, slightly over 3 months since inception. This fund is, these are numbers, performance numbers are end of January, 31st January 22. So this fund was up by 5% as compared to Nifty 200 benchmark index, which was down by 6%. So it's generated an alpha of 12% over a period of such a short period of 3 months or 4 months. And that is what phenomenal or outstanding performance is all about. कि इंडेक्स जब से हमने लॉन्च किया 18 अक्टूबर से 31 जनवरी तक इंडेक्स 6% डाउन है, पर ये जो फंड है वो 5% ऊपर है. मतलब हमने इंडेक्स से 12% एक्स्ट्रा रिटर्न जनरेट कर लिया. एंड दैट इज हाउ डिड वी डू इट? वी डू इट बाय इन्वेस्टिंग इनटू गुड क्वालिटी ग्रोथ बिजनेस विच आर लीडर्स. तो विच इफेक्टिवली मीन्स, जो मैंने बोला था, विल टेक लो रिस्क लेंगे. तो जब मार्केट गिरेगा तो हमारा पोर्टफोलियो कम गिरेगा और प्लस वो हमको मार्केट से कहीं ज्यादा रिटर्न देगा. एंड एग्जैक्टली हम यही करने जा रहे हैं विद दिस पोर्टफोलियो, एंड इट्स ऑलरेडी शोइंग इन द such a short period of performance of this portfolio. Yeah. So friends, I think I'll pause here and we can open the floor for questions.
Pankaj, would it be possible for you to take like just details on even the second and the third company like Tata Motors and the Indian Hotel, just like description about it? Like from a growth point of view, how we're looking at these companies?
Yeah, sure. We can do that. So as you can see, friends, the second biggest holding in the portfolio is a company called Tata Motors. All of us are aware of Tata Motors. Now, again, Tata Motors is a very interesting company. It's a company which has three different businesses. There is one, all of us know that when it comes to commercial vehicles or trucks, Tata Motors is the largest commercial vehicle company in India. One out of every two truck or a commercial vehicle that is sold in India is a Tata Motor vehicle. So they own over 50% market share in commercial vehicles in India. Second, over the last 3-4 years, I'm sure we have seen other business of Tata Motors is passenger vehicles. They make cars, and I'm sure all of us have seen the Tata Motors cars on the road. And the last 3 years, they've done a magic with their business with very new products, which are excellent performing products, right? And then they have an international business where they make luxury cars in Europe, and then they sell all over the world. That business is under a company called JLR, Jaguar Land Rover, which is again owned by Tata Motors. So Tata Motors, friends, is a company which is at a point where all their three businesses are going to deliver very strong growth over the next 3 to 5 years. As Indian economy grows and recovers, we are seeing very strong growth, and we're likely to see very strong growth in commercial vehicles. जैसे इकोनॉमी में ग्रोथ होगी तो ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, गुड ट्रांसपोर्टेशन अपने आप बढ़ेगा, क्योंकि कंजम्पशन बढ़ेगा, प्रोडक्शन बढ़ेगा, और प्रोडक्शन बढ़ेगा तो उसको ट्रांसपोर्ट करना होगा, लॉजिस्टिक्स की जरूरत होगी, ट्रांसपोर्ट करने के लिए कमर्शियल व्हीकल की जरूरत होगी. So automatically when the economy grows, commercial vehicle demand grows. Tata Motors has launched some fantastic passenger vehicles or cars and SUVs in India, as a result of which their passenger vehicle business is growing phenomenally. In fact, they are running, you go to any Tata Motors showroom and to try and book a Tata Motors car, there is a waiting of 3 months to 4 months, because the demand is so strong that they are not able to meet the demand. And likewise, their luxury car business, which is largely international, Jaguar Land Rover, that is also doing very well. So, and again, it's a company which is leader in all the businesses that it is into, and it's a very good quality business, because you require very deep and high level of technology to make all these kinds of products, right? Whether it's a commercial vehicle or cars. Then from cars now we are moving to EV. So Tata Motors has launched electric vehicles in India. They're launching electric vehicles in Jaguar also, and making those luxury cars require a lot of technology and continuous innovation. So obviously, unless you're a good quality component company, you cannot do all of that, which is what they've been doing. So again, we think they will have very strong growth over the next 3 to 5 years, and we remain very bullish on them. Indian Hotels, friends, all of us know, who doesn't know the brand Taj, right? So they own the Taj group of hotels. Last 2 years, because of the pandemic, hotels have gone through a severe downturn, because hotels have been closed largely, and all of us, and as I said, there's been no events, corporate parties or weddings and personal events happening, and all of that. So what has happened, friends, is because of the crisis of COVID in the last 2 years, a lot of small hotels will close down, or had closed down, or will close down, because the financial losses they've incurred and the financial challenges they are facing because of the debt on their balance sheet. As a result, when any industry goes through this kind of a challenging time, then what happens is the leading player in the industry becomes even more stronger, because for him there is less competition, because a lot of smaller hotels close down. So Indian Hotel is one such company, which is, again, remember, it's alpha leadership portfolio, so we'll invest only in companies which are leaders. So Indian Hotels is a company which is a leader into hotel industry in India, the leading hospitality brand with Taj, Ginger, Vivanta. All of us know all these brands because we associate or relate ourselves to these brands, and more often than not, sometime or other, we also use these brands by staying at their hotels. And I'm sure anyone who has used their hospitality would have had a very good experience with them. I have personally been a customer of Taj Group of Hotels for the last 20 years, and I really enjoy their hospitality. Whenever I go to their any property, I just find it wonderful. So now we think that as economy opens up, COVID is behind us. We've achieved in India 75% double dose vaccination now. So life is getting back to normal. And as life gets back to normal again, we'll have all those things that we used to have pre-COVID, in terms of having large weddings, large corporate events, and all of that, and which effectively means there'll be very strong demand for hotel rooms in India. As it is in India, hotel industry is very small in relation to the world. I'll give you one example, friends. न्यूयॉर्क सिटी, हम यूएस में जानते हैं न्यूयॉर्क सिटी है. ओनली वन न्यूयॉर्क सिटी, ओनली न्यूयॉर्क सिटी में, खाली न्यूयॉर्क सिटी में 1 लाख होटल रूम है, 1 लाख होटल रूम्स. और पूरे इंडिया में मिला के, पूरे इंडिया में हमारी पॉपुलेशन 130 करोड़ है, पूरे इंडिया में मिला के खाली 1,50,000 होटल रूम्स. तो इंडिया में जितने रूम्स हैं, मतलब 1,50,000, तो 1 लाख खाली एक न्यूयॉर्क सिटी में, यूएस की बात नहीं कर रहा हूं मैं. सो दैट टेल्स अस द ह्यूज growth opportunity that is ahead for the hotel industry. And Indian Hotels, being a leader with such an iconic brand of Taj, we think will do very well over the next 5 years, 10 years. Yeah. So I think I'll take a pause here. I think, I guess I've exceeded the time limits also.
No, I think we are fine. So we have some questions from our participants. One of the questions is why the portfolio has such a major focus on banking sector, like which has 30% exposure.
तो दो चीजें, two things here, friends. One, banking sector as a whole is a dominant sector in the Indian economy. So banking sector is also 34% of the Nifty index in India. Yeah. So it is 34% of the Nifty index because it's a sector which is very dominant or the largest sector in Indian economy. So because the portfolio is a play on Indian economy, it also reflects the underlying economy. If it is 34% of the Nifty index, which is why it is such a large portion in our portfolio also. And secondly, we think banks, good banks, will have very strong growth over the next 2 to 3 years, because last year and a half, banks have been adversely impacted because of the COVID crisis, where there was a fear that banks couldn't have NPOs because retail customers, a lot of customers, the fear was a lot of retail customers would have lost their jobs, so they will default on their EMIs. A lot of small businesses, micro and small enterprises and SMEs, their business factories were closed down for a period of time, so they might have suffered losses, so they might default, and as a result of which banks will have huge losses on their assets because of write downs and provisions and NPAs. But now we are realizing that now the economy is opening up. There's a very strong recovery in the economy, and in fact the NPAs in the banks are much lower than what initially it was feared. So because of that, banks will have a very strong growth over the next 2 to 3 years, especially strong banks, and which is why also we are positive on banks, and we have high exposure to banks.
So another question we have from the participant is how often do we reshuffle and rebalance the portfolio, and what is the ideal investment horizon for the portfolio?
Okay, very good question. So see, friends, to start with, when we invest into any company, we take a 3-year time horizon on the company. We invest with the 3-year. अगर suppose आज हमने invest किया आदित्य बिरला फैशन में या टाटा मोटर्स में, so we are taking a 3-year view on that company, that in 3 years I should make 20-30% every year kind of a return over the next 3 years. That is our expectation when we invest into companies in this portfolio. So we would want that investors should invest in the portfolio with at least a 3-year time horizon. Then there will be an alignment of investors time horizon and the fund manager time horizon, and that is very important because the fund manager अगर 3 साल के व्यू से इन्वेस्ट करेगा और इन्वेस्टर अगर 1 साल के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से इन्वेस्ट करेगा तो वो मिसमैच हो जाएगा कभी. So one investor should invest in the portfolio with a 3-year time horizon. Having said that, we would like this to be one of the best portfolios in India across, and we uh, uh, it will sound immodest, friends, but this portfolio will compete with all the available mutual funds in India, and we will make it the best performing portfolio as compared to any mutual fund. That being said, if that is the case, then if you ask me, I think investors should stay invested in this portfolio forever for their life, because इससे better portfolio उन्हें नहीं मिलेगा. So if we can keep delivering the performance, then investors should buy this portfolio and just stay invested in this portfolio for the rest of their life. Because portfolio manager will keep making changes to the portfolio as and when he thinks appropriate. The second question was how often do we change the portfolio? So as I said, we are taking a 3-year view on the portfolio. So the the annual portfolio turnover ratio can be 25-30%. Okay.
So another question which we have a couple of this question. So the question is like, the tech sector has corrected across the world, and is it worth holding technology stocks? And also, like, what is the view on tech and tech companies?
See, tech company worldwide और India is very different. वहां पे तो फेसबुक करेक्ट हो गया, हमारे यहाँ पे तो फेसबुक सोशल मीडिया कोई कंपनी है ही नहीं लिस्टेड, हम लोग भी फेसबुक ही यूज कर रहे हैं, राइट? सो कंपनीज देयर एंड कंपनीज हियर आर वेरी डिफरेंट. नाउ फेसबुक हैज सेड कि they are going to increase investment into technology. So if they are going to increase investment in technology, then Facebook अपना काफी टेक्नोलॉजी का work they outsource to a lot of companies worldwide, including Indian companies like Infosys, TCS. So what we have in portfolio in technology companies is a company like Infosys, which and TCS, and our view is that they will keep doing well, because if Facebook has to grow, Apple has to grow, Microsoft has to grow, and they're investing more and more in technology, then they'll be giving more and more work to IT services company. So all I'm trying to say is that tech companies there and in India are very different, and Indian companies we believe will keep growing for the next 5-10 years. There's a very strong, very strong demand in technology services, where because every company wants to invest into technology today. Every company, forget about tech companies, every business wants to go digital. Walmart wants to go digital, or you name any business. Tesco, the largest retailer in Europe, wants to go. UK wants to go digital, or any other company from any other business wants to go digital. And if they want to go digital, then they want to use, because these are large companies, or a Citibank wants to go increase investment in technology, or a Bank of America wants to increase investment in technology. So they will need services of technology services company, and some of the best technology services company in the world are Indian companies like Infosys and TCS. So in our portfolio, the technology exposure you see is our two primary holdings there are Infosys and TCS, and we think both these companies will do well. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I am just reading like some more. Another question actually, which is related to the portfolio itself, like Airtel is good stock when telecom facing problem.
Telecom is not facing problem. Telecom as a sector, देखिए, don't go by what is there in the newspaper. Telecom sector is growing. Just look at your own. Whosoever gentleman is asking this question, आप खुद अपना मोबाइल बिल उठा के देखिए, नॉट इन वैल्यू, बट ये देखिए कि आपका डेटा कंजम्पशन आज से 3 साल पहले कितना था. मैं आई कैन टेल यू अबाउट माई सेल्फ. 3 years बैक माई डेटा कंजम्पशन वॉज 2.5 GB per month. मैं बहुत ज्यादा डेटा नहीं कंज्यूम करता हूँ, बिकॉज आई डोंट वॉच वीडियोस, नेटफ्लिक्स एंड ऑल दैट ऑन माय फोन, बिकॉज आई डोंट हैव दैट मच टाइम. मेरे पास उतना समय नहीं है. बट मैं ये सब नहीं करता हूँ, मैं खाली मेरा बिजनेस करता हूँ और मेरे डेली की एक्टिविटीज करता हूँ. बट टुडे even then my data consumption today is 7 GB per month. So my data consumption has gone 3 times. सो टेलीकॉम इज ग्रोइंग वेरी फास्ट बिकॉज ये जितना भी हम इंटरनेट कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं, अभी ये जूम पे हम ये कॉल कर रहे हैं, हम नेटफ्लिक्स पे वीडियोस देख रहे हैं, सीरीज देख रहे हैं, बट किड्स आर डूइंग देयर स्कूल लेसन्स ऑन जूम. सो ये सब के पीछे बैंडविड्थ कंज्यूम हो रही है और वो बैंडविड्थ टेलीकॉम कंपनीज दे रही हैं. So telecom companies are growing very fast, and Bharti being a leader will do very well. So we are very positive on Bharti uh, uh, because telecom will keep growing for the next 20 years because our data consumption will only keep increasing.
Okay, I'm just reading out another. So there are basically, what is the view on sectors, power sectors and sugar sector? Like if you can give just a brief view on both of them.
अच्छा, तो मैं एक और व्यू देता हूँ फ्रेंड्स. ये ना सेक्टर व्यू पे ज्यादा नहीं जाना चाहिए, हमें कंपनीज देखनी चाहिए. Many times it happens that we get a good company in a bad sector. In a sector where the view is negative, we can find good business, and vice versa. In a good sector, there can be a bad company. For example, housing finance is a very good sector because India mein, even after 75 years of independence, there are millions of Indians who do not have a home, जिनके पास खुद का घर नहीं है, जो आने वाले 5 साल 10 साल 20 साल में खुद का घर खरीदेंगे. And when they buy their own home, they will take a home loan. They have to take a home loan. So housing finance is a great sector because the demand for housing finance will continue for the next 20 years. But in a good sector, there can be a bad company like Diwan Housing which failed. So all I'm trying to say is don't go by sector view because you're not investing in the sector. When we're buying, we're not buying a sector, we're buying a particular business. So our fortunes is linked to that particular business. So now coming to answer to your question of sugar sector for the timing is doing well because sugar prices are high, but it's a sector which is cyclical sector because sugar prices goes high, the sector does well, then some point of time sugar prices go low, the sector doesn't do well. So for the time being, the sector is doing well. Second is power sector. Again, power sector is fine, there's no problem with power sector, but in power sector not all companies are doing well. There are certain companies which are doing well, but there are certain companies which are not doing well, and a lot of power companies have gone bankrupt also in the last 5-7 years. I don't know if you heard of a company, let's say 5 years back there was a company called Lanco Power. So now Lanco Power has gone bankrupt. So there are a lot of companies in power which are not doing well. So don't go by the sector, look at companies. Next, please.
So there are some few questions. We'll take one more question, but I'll just answer some questions. Like people have been asking about the fees. The fees charged to your investor is 2.5% over here. And one interesting question which we have is about cash calls. Will we take cash calls or will remain 100% invested at every point in time?
So अगर हम बहुत बेरिश हो जाएंगे मार्केट पे, हमें लगे कोई क्राइसिस आएगी या मार्केट क्रैश हो जाएगा, तो विल टेक कैश कॉल. That will happen once in a 5-year time. Baki most of the time will fully invested, will remain fully invested.
I think like we're done with most of the questions. So Pankaj, firstly, like really thank you for giving your time today, and it was a really warm, great to hear you today and understand the philosophy of your portfolio. As Fintso, we are like more than happy to do business with you, and if we have any more queries from our subscribers, you can write it to us directly and we'll get it answered. Till then, like just we'll end the webinar now. Happy weekend to everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kumar, and thank you all friends for taking your valuable time out on a Saturday morning and joining us for this discussion. I'm sure Fintso will be a great platform, and all of you guys in partnership with Fintso will do wonders. I think it's a great opportunity for all of us to take this portfolio to our clients and investors, and with the help of technology, now we can take these portfolios to the every nook and corner of India and to the smallest of investors in India. So that's the power of technology, which helps both yourself and us to bring the best of our investment capability and your distribution capability and your access to your clients to take this product, which I think is a great product, which we have created in partnership with Fintso, to investors across every nook and corner of India. And I'm very sure that over a period of time, it will become one of the best performing fund in India. And it's already showing signs of that in the short period of performance that we have witnessed for the fund. So with that, let me just thank you all once again. And if you all have any queries, feel free to reach out to Fintso, and they'll reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you all for your valuable time, friends. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.